The Path of Glouphrie, 13th of September, 2023. Today's update brings a long-awaited sequel, but first, bug fixes and feedback. We've just hotfixed a bug where Superior Slayer monsters were spawning more frequently than intended. That has been hotfixed. Players would like us to consider buffing low-intensity mining methods after the Duke mining nerf change this week. In the future, we will make a change so that shooting stars will no longer deplete faster if more people are mining them. This should mean that other players can't interfere with your AFK time if you decide to engage with shooting stars. We'll try to get this in for next week's update, but if not, it will be as soon as we can. The Path of Glouphrie. As part of our last game jam, we began the process of porting another iconic RuneScape quest to old school RuneScape, and made a few improvements along while we were at it. Give a warm welcome to the Path of Glouphrie, the sequel to the Eyes of Glouphrie and the next part in the Gnome questline. In the Eyes of Glouphrie, you revealed a sinister espionage plot aimed at the Gnome stronghold. Now it seems that King Bolren has acquired a worrying new pet. It appears that Glouphrie's next target is the Tree Gnome village. What could he be planning? Start the quest by speaking to King Bolren in the Tree Gnome village. Requirements and rewards. Completion of the Eyes of Glouphrie Waterfall quest and Tree Gnome village. 60 strength, 56 slayer, 56 thieving, 47 ranged, 45 agility. Upon completion, you'll be rewarded with 2 quest points, Poison Waste dungeon access, 2 lamps offering a total of 20,000 Slayer XP and 5,000 Thieving XP, 2 lamps offering a total of 30,000 Strength XP and 5,000 Magic XP. New Poison Waste dungeon. Upon completion of the Path of Glouphrie, you'll also gain access to a brand new, for old school, Slayer dungeon. Here, you'll have the chance to take on deadly warp tortoises and terror birds. But wait, these aren't the beasties you remember. We've taken the opportunity to totally rebalance their stats and loot tables, and while we were at it, we've also implemented a few other quality of life changes. Players no longer need to use a crystal chime on warp tortoises and terror birds during a fight. Instead, they need only have one in their inventory. Crystal chimes are now made from a separate crystal seed than the crystal saw. No more swapping between them. The dungeon creatures share a single warped creature slayer task rather than having individual ones. This slayer task is opt-in, so you'll need to unlock it. We're also pulling an additional block slot unlocked at 300 quest points. The Warped Scepter, tradable. We've also added an old school exclusive unique drop to the Poison Waste dungeon, the Warped Scepter. This mid-level item is a drop from the warped creatures, which can be killed off-task if you choose so. While the drop rates will remain a secret on the first day of the quest, as is tradition, we promise to release them soon. It is charged using Chaos and Earth runes, with each charge costing 2 Chaos runes and 5 Earth runes. In terms of the current meta, you'll find that Iban's staff will outperform the Warped Scepter in raw DPS until you hit level 81 magic, at which point its damage output will be higher. For those of you with lower magic levels, you'll find that the Warped Scepter is still a great mid-value unlock, and almost certainly something you'll want to work towards before you get your hands on your first trident. As the Warped Scepter is a self-powered staff, you'll be able to use it with any spellbook you choose. Its other strength is its high attack speed, which means that boosts to magic damage from a Libidinous Ward, the Occult Necklace, the Imbued God Capes, and other items will scale more effectively with the Warped Scepter than with Iban's staff. Finally, it looks awesome. Check out the claws! Future pulled additional Slayer block slot. The release of Path of Glouphrie means that there are now a whopping 300 quest points available for you spacebar smashing crusaders to get your hands on. Currently, every 50 quest points unlocks a new Slayer block slot. We considered building this into today's update, but since this addition significantly alters existing Slayer metas, we thought we'd poll it just in case. You'll be able to cast your vote on this issue in our next poll, which is currently scheduled for the end of September. If this change passes, you can expect it to launch fairly quickly, so you won't have to wait too long. Mobile TLI Beta. Today's update also brings the foundations for the mobile TLI Beta. From tomorrow, Thursday the 14th, you'll have access to exclusive beta worlds which use the new mobile UI. In a beta worlds first, you'll also have access to a copy of your main game save, so you can try playing exactly how you're used to while taking the new UI for a test drive. Please note, to participate in this beta, you will need to manually update the old school RuneScape mobile client by visiting the Google Play or App Store. If this is not done, you will experience UI issues when switching between beta and non-beta worlds. If you'd like to use your main game save on a beta world, we recommend first logging into a normal world and making your way to the settings menu. select Gameplay and scroll down to the bottom to see the new Beta Worlds options. Here, you'll be able to convert a save for use on the Beta Worlds or reset your current Beta World save for a fresh experience. Without a converted save, you'll be shunted back to Tutorial Island for the rest of the noobs. Although since this is a Beta World, you'll be offered a handy teleport to the mainland if you'd like to start your adventure right away. You'll be able to access the content in the following worlds: World 585, Australia; World 586, Germany; World 587, UK; World 588, US West; World 589, US East. Once you're finished playing around in the beta, simply switch to a normal world and resume playing however you normally would. This has been a big project, and we're excited to hear your feedback. We will be keeping a close eye on discussion, so feel free to join the conversation on the official Old School Discord's mobile beta channels. To leave your feedback, simply head to the official Old School Discord and find the OSRS mobile category. From there, you'll see plenty of channels to leave your feedback. Below, you'll also find a mobile UI beta survey, where you can tell us your thoughts. We'll be paying close attention to all your feedback to make sure the next steps are aligned with the community's expectations, so be sure to let us know what you think. Other changes. We're also launching a Poll 80 change today. As of this update, the Winter Toad respawn timer is now fixed at 1 minute. A handy countdown will appear in the empty energy bar. The remaining high priority Poll 80 changes are coming next week, including the Callisto chip damage changes and the medium diary requirement for wilderness bosses. Community feedback has told us that these changes are very important to you, so we hope you're looking forward to them. Speaking of our lovely community, you've been having some heated discussions regarding a new AFK mining method developed after Desert Treasure 2 launch. You resourceful lot have been using the salt deposits in the Duke's fight to mine to your heart's content. While we admire your tenacity, we don't feel that this method is good for the game. We love a good low-intensity training method, but this appears to be free XP, and we don't like that. We've seen all sides of the conversation and understand that some of you don't see any harm in keeping this unintended training method around. However, we hope that you trust us to do what's best for the game, and in this case, that means making this method unviable. As of today's update, mining the Duke salt deposits for more than 5 minutes will tire you out and cause you to stop for a breather. We also have some minor changes and improvements this week. Fixed wording on the Group Ironman leaving interface. Group Ironman leaders who wish to abdicate no longer need another active member in their group to do so. The Grand Exchange sales fee is no longer charged on Deadman Apocalypse worlds. You can now check charges remaining on the Blade of Saeldor while it is equipped. The Bind, Snare, and Entangle spells will now give slightly different XP depending on whether the spell will hit or splash. This also means that you can predict successfully by looking at how much XP you've received. For a Bind, a success now gives 31 XP, up from 30. For Snare, a success now gives 61 XP, plus damage, up from 60. Entangle already had an XP difference in PvP combat, and we've applied the same numbers to PvM. A success is now worth 89 XP, up from 70. The Wilderness Diary task that required players to kill a lava dragon and bury its bone now completes when the dragon is killed without requiring you to do any burying. After all, that's not the hard part of the challenge. The Locator's Orb is now permitted in Castle Wars. PvP Rota. The PvP Rota has moved to Period A. 539, US, PvP World. 318, UK, Bounty Hunter World. 548, Germany, High Risk PvP World. 577, US, Free-to-Play PvP World. 559, UK, LMS Competitive. World 390, Australia, for LMS Competitive has been activated with this rota. World 569, Australia, for Bounty Hunter has been activated with this rota. The PvP arena is using 1 Defense Pure loadouts in ranked duels and tournaments this week. You can also discuss this update on our official forums, on the 2007scape subreddit, the Steam forums, or the community-led OSRS Discord in the Game Update channel. For more info on the above content, check out the official Old School Wiki. The Old School Team. That concludes today's game update about the Path of Glouphrie. Now, let's get into my thoughts. Before we get into my thoughts about today's update, I want to talk about something else. As some of you may have noticed, I've yet to release a video about the Varlamore and the Hunter Guild blog post. I heavily debated even recording a video for that, because the Old School team embedded an audio reading in the blog post. They're taking my business away. But on a serious note, I was selfishly pretty upset when I saw that they included that in the post. I haven't read all the updates in the past, but to my knowledge, this seems to be the first time they're doing a verbatim reading of a blog post or update text. And coincidentally, it happened a week after I started my channel. I've gotten over that. I'm happy that they're increasing accessibility for everybody. And since I'm over that, I'm going to keep doing my readings and opinion pieces and posting them here on YouTube. I know a lot of people don't necessarily have access to the OSRS website during the day, but they do have access to YouTube, so I still see there being some sort of value to these videos. But if you have any suggestions or requests that you think would provide value on top of the audio readings, please feel free to share your thoughts with me. If it's positive or negative, I won't be upset. I'd love to hear your opinion. Anyways, back to the update. I am 100% on board with the change to Duke mining. It was not intended to be used this way, and it was simply, literally just free XP to the point where it was indistinguishable from an idle game at that point. Whereas I kind of see OSRS as more of an active idle game, if that makes any sense. But perhaps the best part about this update is they're going to be updating shooting stars, such that they don't deplete faster if more people are mining them, kind of giving them the forestry treatment. I think it's an awesome idea, and it will massively increase the popularity of shooting stars. So big ups to the old school team for hearing the community out on this one. I know the community had been suggesting it for a while, so I kind of wish that the team had done it sooner, but anyway, good that they're doing it now. Moving on to the Path of Glouphrie. Like I said before in one of my previous videos, this quest doesn't particularly excite me. I mean, I don't really have anything against it, but it's not something I was highly anticipating. I haven't done the quest yet, so who knows, maybe it'll end up being really fun. My understanding is that the big reward is the new Warped Scepter, which seems to be a weaker version of the Trident of the Seas to basically help mid-game Ironmen be able to get into PvM sooner. That's my take on it. It's not necessarily what they said. I'm kind of struggling to see any reason for mains to use this, so I'm kind of thinking out loud here. Seems like the only time that a main would use it would be, I guess, if you're between 62 and 75 magic, which are the requirements for the Warped Scepter and the Trident of the Seas. I, on my experience, didn't really get into PvM until well beyond 75 magic, so I probably wouldn't have benefited from this at all. But maybe others would get into it earlier, especially with the new equipment. Maybe it makes things like Barrows, Dagon of Kings, Low Invocation, Tombs of Amaska, and potentially Olm a little bit more accessible earlier on. Olm might be a reach, but I think the others are valid. Alright, maybe I can see the application for mains. I just didn't want this to be another Scar Essence Mine sort of update where, you know, it's 100% targeted towards Ironmen with no real application to mains. Still not a fan of the whole powered staff meta though, but that seems to be the way the game has gone PvM-wise, and I think that's gone. As far as the additional block slot for Slayer goes, first and foremost, I'm a fan of them pulling this sort of change, even though it seems so minuscule. I think it's important to keep pulling things like this. I'm also all in favor of the extra block slot. There's been a lot of additional Slayer monsters and tasks that have been added to the game since, you know, we initially got the block slots. So proportionally, I don't really think this changes things too much from the way they were initially. And last and most likely least, the Winter Toad respawn timer being fixed makes sense. Never made any sense to me why it wasn't fixed initially. So, that's it for the Path of Glouphrie update. Is there anything else in this update that you'd like to hear my thoughts on? Leave me a comment and I'll get back to you. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.